Now, okay. Okay. That's what I was missing. I think that's what was missing. That's okay. It's all good. It is happening. Yeah, how do you say it? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. And check with Bill Prabhu if he's able to hear us. Hare Krishna, Bill Prabhu, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Hari, thank you.
1825. Okay.
Huh. Just a few minutes before the speaker is here.
Okay, that's Bhima this morning, right?
Bhima Prabhu and Shankar Prabhu.
Okay, all right.
That came out, you know, that I had the Chaitanya Charitamrita on Marti. Uh, okay, so what shall we do now? You can just get out of Madhav and then the verse 125. You go to the chant 3 times. Normally it's out of class. And then in the middle of the discussion, you can switch the thought. Okay. So you have a separate chair and everything for Bhima? Yeah. Table? I'd rather sit on the lower. Pardon? And you also have a garland for Bhima Prabhu when it comes? Okay. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Nataraj ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunti Bhakti Radha Kunti Bhakti Jana Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Jai Om Vishnu Bhat Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotara Satasri Srimad Bhai Charanara Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath
श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय, श्री ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, श्री धाम मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय, श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, श्री गंगा माई की जय, श्री यमुना माई की जय, श्री भक्ति देवी की जय, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, युग धर्म हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Shri Shri Guru Shri Param. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'd like to welcome all of you to Srimad Bhagavatam class that is being held here in St. Louis, ISKCON, under the guidance and inspiration of their lordships, Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Nataraj and Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, and founder Acharya ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada. So we'd like to thank all of you for participating in this class, and we welcome you. Many of you may be observing and taking part online, taking advantage of modern computer technology. So that's wonderful. We appreciate your association. Thank you so much for participating. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Vedati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangun Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaur Tuse Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, which is entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti, text number 25. Please repeat. Vipada Santu Ta Shaswat Tatra Jagadguru Bhavataha Darshanam Yat Syat Apunaha Bhavadarshanam Vipada Santuta Shaswat
Vipada Shashvat
Tatra Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yat Syat
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apurna Bhava Darshanam
Apurna Bhava
Vipada Santuta Shaswat
Vipada Sansuta Shashvat
Tatra Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yat Syat
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apurna Bhava Darshanam
Apurna Bhava Darshanam
Vipada Santuta Shaswat
Vipada Sansuta Shashvat
Tatra Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yat Syat
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apurna Bhava Darshanam.
Apurna Bhava Darshanam
Please chant.
Vipada Sansuta Shashvat Vipada Sansuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Punarbhava Darshanam Punarbhava Darshanam Vipada Santuta Shashvat Vipada Santuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Apunarbhava Darshanam Apunarbhava Darshanam
Vipada Santuta Shashvat
Vipada Santuta Shashvat
Tatra Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apunarbhava Darshanam
Apunarbhava Darshanam
Vipada Santuta Shaswat
Vipada
Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apurna Darshanam
Apunarbhava Darshanam Vipada Santuta Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Apunarbhava Darshanam
Vipada Santuta Shaswat
Vipada Santuta Shashvat
Tatra Tatra Jagatguru
Tatra Tatra Jagadguru
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya
Apurna Darshanam.
Apunarbhava Darshanam
Anyone else?
Vipada Santuta Shashvat Tatra Jagadguru Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Apunarbhava Darshanam
Word meanings, please repeat. Vipada,
Vipada
calamities.
calamities
Santu,
Santu
let there be.
let there be
Taha,
all
all. Shaswat,
Shashvat
again and again.
again and again
Tatra,
Tatra
there.
there
Tatra,
Tatra
and there.
and there
Jagatguru,
Jagadguru
O Lord of the universe.
O Lord of the universe
Bhavataha,
Bhavataha
your.
your
Darshanam,
Darshanam
meeting.
meeting
Yat,
Yat
that which.
that which
Syat,
Syat
is.
is
Apunaha,
Apunaha
not again.
not again
Bhavadarshanam,
Bhavadarshanam
seeing repetition of birth and death.
in repetition of birth and death.
Again, these are prayers spoken by Queen Kunti to Lord Sri Krishna. Translation. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we can see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and death. Please repeat. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we can see you again and again. So that we can see you again and again.
For seeing you means that we will no longer
Means that we will no longer
see repeated births and deaths.
see the burden of death.
Purport by Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive, who have performed some pious activities, worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there's some calamity, there's no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nestlings, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hooves of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with the place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place, full of calamity. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamity. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without trace of calamity. The duty of the same person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which is sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering of all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritualization because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities. Therefore, the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger, and there is no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional processes. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a forward step on the path going back to God. End of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation again. Vipada santudha saswat tatra tatra jugat guru bhavato darshanam yat syat apurna bhava darshanam. Queen Kunti is saying to Lord Krishna, I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we can see you again and again. For seeing you means we will no longer see repeated birth and death. So the prayers of Queen Kunti are celebrated throughout the world. According to the history of the Mahabharata, after the battle of Kurukshetra, which
raged for 18 days only, but hundreds of thousands lost their lives. At the end, Yudhisthira Maharaj was finally installed on the throne as the king of the Kuru dynasty. Prior to Yudhisthira Maharaj ascending the throne, there was an internal family dispute. Queen Kunti, the mother of the illustrious Pandavas, Yudhisthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, were all virtuous personalities. The Pancha Pandavas, these 5 Pandava brothers, were very, very exalted devotees of the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam points out, when one is an elevated devotee of the Supreme Lord, all godly qualities are manifest in one's person. Yasyasti bhaktir bhavati akinchana. Sarvaya gunas tatra samasate sura. Sura, or the Suras, refers to the devatas, the demigods, just as the asuras refers to the atheistic or demonic class of persons. So when one takes up the bhakti seva, devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all godly qualities are manifested in one's person. So for the non-devotees of the Lord, even though they may appear to have good qualities, someone may be very charitable, giving hundreds, thousands of dollars in charity. Someone may be very polite, very kind, very compassionate. We know there are many people in this world like that. However, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, because such materially speaking persons that are endowed with wonderful qualities, because they have not taken shelter of the Supreme Lord Himself, therefore all of their good qualities are for naught. So the Pandava brothers, from the very beginning of their lives, they were devoted to Lord Sri Krishna. They also understood that Lord Sri Krishna also played a familial role with their mother, Kunti. Krishna, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he also played the part of nephew of Kunti Devi. Krishna is celebrated as Vasudeva, and his father's name is Vasudeva. In fact, in one of the prayers of Queen Kunti, she also acknowledges Krishnaya Vasudevaya Nanda Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. That is also composed by Kunti Mahara. So the Pandavas, they understood that our friend, who's also having close proximity to our dynasty, this Kuru dynasty, he is the nephew of our mother. Kunti's brother was Vasudeva. So Krishna acted as the nephew of Kunti Devi. However, Kunti Devi, being a very, very exalted Vaishnavi, she wasn't under any illusion, thinking this personality, Krishna, is my nephew. I'm senior to him. Because in Vedic culture, Indian culture, in the family structure, there's always a great deal there's always a great deal of family structure. In the Vedic system, in the family structure, the superiors are always giving respect to, isn't it? In very pious Indian families, quite often when the sons or daughters see father or mother, they ask for their blessings and sometimes even touch their feet, isn't it? Or they'll say, oh, here's uncle, Kakaji. There's so much respect. So Kunti Devi, she was certainly giving respect to Krishna, but she was not seeing him, oh, this is my nephew. She was seeing this is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, in the very first prayer that Kunti Devi offered to Krishna, and of course, this was again after the battle of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira Maharaj was now installed as the king of the Kuru dynasty. So Krishna was just about to leave after meeting with the Pandavas and Kunti Devi to return to Dwarka, his residential place. So at that time, Queen Kunti approached Krishna before he was departing for Dwarka and offered these prayers. The first prayer, Kunti said she wasn't looking at Krishna, you're my nephew. She said, Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakate Param Alakshya Sarva Bhutanam Antara Bahir Avasti. My dear Lord Krishna, I am offering my obeisances unto you. Why? Namasye Purusham Tvadyam. You are the original personality. Ishwaram Prakate Param. You're beyond this cosmos. You're the controller of the cosmos. Antara Bahir Avastitaha. You're existing simultaneously inside everything and outside everything. Therefore, I'm offering my obeisances. And this particular chapter, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti, there's so many wonderful prayers that are again being celebrated and vibrated daily all over the world, all over the universe. Now, this particular prayer, in which Kunti Devi says, Vipada Santuta Saswat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Apurna Bhava Darshanam. This particular prayer is very, very astonishing, uncharacteristic of Kunti Maharani's previous prayer. Kunti Devi, in beautiful poetry-like prayers from her heart, she acknowledged Krishna's supreme position, supreme Lord, endowed with unlimited qualities and attributes. However, in this particular prayer under discussion, Kunti Devi is reminding Krishna of the calamities, the challenges, the setbacks that she and her sons of Pandavas experienced. And she's saying, my dear Krishna, please allow those calamities to happen again and again and again. This is very astonishing. Generally, when one goes before the deity form of the Lord, or for those who are worshiping some of the devatas, like Lord Shiva, Ganesh, etc., it's rare finding someone uttering these types of prayers. For example, many persons, they'll come before the deity, Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayana, Radha Krishna, etc., and they may stand there for a long period of time and just, you can sense that so much devotion coming from their heart. So after they finish the prayers, if you were to pull that person to the side and say, I couldn't help but notice you stood before their lordships for such a long time, and I could just see you were reverently praying. if it isn't so personal, may I ask, how are you approaching the Lord? What is your mentality? What are you asking, praying? I'm asking the Lord because I've experienced so much hardship in my life. I'm asking the Lord, let that hardship continue. Most people will be astonished. Why are you praying like this? Because generally, when someone goes to a church, temple, they're generally asking the Lord for something. Is it not? Dhanam Dehi. My dear Lord, I'm in need of money. I lost my job. I have so many bills, car payments, house payments. Alleviate this situation. Give me something. Dhanam Dehi. Urupam Dehi. My dear Lord, can you make my body a little more physically appealing, more attractive? You'd be quite surprised. Many people have various mentalities. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada starts his purport by indicating, quoting, alluding to a verse in Bhagavad Gita, indicating that different types of people approach the Lord. And what is the verse Srila Prabhupada is alluding to? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Vidha Bhajanti Mam, Janaha Sukritina Arjuna, Ardato Jignaso Ardatati, Gyani, Ardatashava. So Krishna is indicating that there are specifically 4 types of Sukritis, pious persons who approach God. Those who are in need, those who are inquisitive, those who are seeking knowledge, and those who are feeling distress. So those who are in a distressful condition, they generally pray to God, my dear Lord, please alleviate this suffering condition. Those who are seeking knowledge, they're also moving in the direction of God. So they're considered pious because they're approaching the Lord. So although Krishna points out that these classes of individuals are pious, this is not the highest mode of approaching the Supreme Lord. The highest mode in approaching the Supreme Lord is one acknowledges, my dear Lord, you are supplying everything for my necessities, for all living entities' necessities. Please allow me to serve you. This is pure devotional service. Therefore, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding, Srila Rupa Goswami pointed out that pure devotional service can be defined in this way. Anyavilashika sunyam jnana karmadi anavaritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. Srila Rupa Goswami defines pure devotional service in that the devotee has no tendency towards fruitive activity. In other words, let me enjoy, or speculative knowledge. One simply wants to serve the Lord for the Lord's pleasure. This is a very important point. All of our devotional activities are for the pleasure of the Lord. When we're performing kirtan before the deity before the Lord, it is for His pleasure. When we're offering prayers, it is for the Lord's pleasure. Therefore, all of these different items of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, is for the pleasure of the Lord. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Satyam, Atma Nivedana. And if we concentrate on one of those aspects of bhakti, or 2 or 3 or 5 or all 9, we make spiritual progress. We can become perfected in our Krishna consciousness just by hearing about Krishna, just by chanting Krishna's glories, just by remembering him, just by offering prayers, just like Queen Kunti Maharani, Vandana, offering prayers to the Lord. Just by offering prayers to the Lord, one can become perfected in one's Krishna consciousness. However, we must know the technique of offering prayer. And that is why in the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures, the very, very exalted devotees of the Lord are teaching by their example how we can successfully offer prayers to Lord's pleasure. So Srila Prabhupada would always encourage the devotees that we should recite the prayers offered by the Lord's pure devotees. In this way, not only will the Lord be pleased, but we'll also gain the technique and understanding how to properly approach the Lord through prayers. So, again, this particular prayer by Queen Kunti is very, very astonishing because Queen Kunti and her sons, the Pandavas, experienced so many difficulties on a daily basis. For example, the previous verse, Queen Kunti says to Krishna, gives a general understanding of some of the hardships she experienced. The previous prayer, Queen Kunti says, Vishan Mahagne Purishada Darsana Asat Sabhai Vanavasa Krishtakaha Mirde Aneka Maharatha Srato Zvoni Aspiritas Chasma Hadir Birakshitaha. Queen Kunti says, my dear Lord Krishna, your lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. The Mahabharata, in great detail, explains the calamities and the sufferings experienced by Queen Kunti and the Pandavas. But in this particular prayer, Kunti Devi is just reminding Krishna of some of the sufferings she endured. Yes, Kunti Devi and her sons were invited to have a very nice meal, and unfortunately the cake was poisoned, laced with poison. But Krishna saved them. Similarly, their residential place was set on fire with the intention of killing them. But they were saved. Kunti Devi and the Pandavas were exiled from their own kingdom to the forest. How many years? Was it 12 years? 13 years. The Pandavas were exiled from their own kingdom for 13 years, roaming about in the forest, daily meeting with life-threatening situations, attacked by vicious animals, rakshasas, which are here described as being like cannibals. It was a very, very difficult situation. But each and every time, they were protected by Krishna. Why? Because Krishna points out, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashtati. My devotees will never perish. They will never be destroyed. In other words, Krishna, as Bhakta Vatsala, is very kind to his devotees. He always protects them. Always. Always. Even if a devotee is not highly advanced in Krishna consciousness, still Krishna, being very thoughtful, very sensitive, very compassionate, and generous, takes into consideration the devotional service rendered by that devotee. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nehabi karamo nashosti pratyavaya navidyate swapam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Krishna is indicating that if one takes to the path of transcendence, but doesn't become completely successful, completely pure, whereby one can immediately return back home, back to Godhead upon giving up the body. Krishna says there's no worry. Srila Prabhupada often, when he would quote this particular verse, he would emphasize that word swalpam, which means little. Whatever little progress one makes, that is to one's eternal benefit. So if someone only advances, say, to 10% Krishna consciousness in this lifetime, next life, human form, and one will start at the point from 11% Krishna consciousness. This is Krishna's mercy. This is Krishna's being Bhakta Vatsa. So he's always protecting his devotee. Prahlad Maharaj was harassed so much by Hiranyakasipu and the other asuras, but Krishna protected. So we must have this faith. Krishna will always give us protection. Now, of course, this material world indicates that there will always be some calamity. We cannot expect a utopian idea that everything is going to be perfect in this world. No suffering, no setbacks, no. Krishna says, Dukalayam Ashashvatam, that this world is full of dukkha, it is full of misery. So even if one tried, well, I'm very prominent in this world, I have millions and billions of dollars in my bank account, I'm very youthful, I'm surrounded by persons that adore me. Okay, there's misery, but I can manipulate everything that I can always experience sukhalaya, happiness. No, because Krishna says, Dukalayam ashashvatam. This world is so temporary. So the point is, there will be calamities in this world. There will be challenging situations. But it is advised that we must tolerate. Tam titiksasva bharata. Marata sparashas tukonteya sitoshna sukadukha. Agama paino anityas tam titiksasva bharata. And Srila Prabhupada is also paraphrasing a wonderful Bhagavatam verse that indicates that if one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one can very easily cross over this material world, which is likened to an ocean of meshes and danger. Padam padam yad vipadam natesha. This world is just fraught at every step with danger. Every step. I've been living in Chicago for the last practically 30 years. And Chicago being the third largest city in America is certainly fraught with a great deal of danger. The other day I went into a shopping mall to do some shopping, indoor shopping mall. And for the first 2 or 3 minutes, it was just beautiful. You enter the mall, you find a particular store you want to shop, very peaceful. All of a sudden, maybe 15 teenagers, high school students, they had their high school identification badges on, dressed in the same uniform. 1 or 2 started arguing. And these were girls, not boys, maybe 14, 15 years old. And then all of a sudden, just started viciously attacking each other. And before you know it, maybe all 15 are on the ground, just literally beating each other. Some sustained blood wounds in their face. And all of a sudden the police came and Had to literally jump down on the ground to separate all of these girls from each other. Looks like it could have been a scene from a movie. In one sense, it looks comical because the police are also just, hey, come on, wait, slow down. And one of the police officers' cap was knocked off. It was very serious. People were filming with their cameras. And fortunately, the police calmed everything down. But any moment, there can be some type of danger. And that's a very, let us say, minor example of some of the violence that occurs in Chicago. Samasritaye padapalava plavam mahatmanam punya yashomadai. Again, padam padam yap danger at every step. So the only shelter, the only refuge is protection is guaranteed. So it is already nearly the time to end the class officially. But again, I want to thank all of you for participating in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, and for those of you who may be listening online. As you know, tomorrow, Sunday, St. Louis ISKCON will have the Rathiatra ceremony. So there will not be a Srimad Bhagavatam televised tomorrow, because all of the devotees will be very busy preparing for Rathiatra. However, according to our Vaishnava calendar, tomorrow is a very, very auspicious day. It is the, what is it technically called? The Panihati Dahi Shiva Mahotsav. It is the festival when Lord Nityananda himself requested Srila Raghunath Das Goswami to prepare chipped rice and yogurt for himself and all of his associates. So this wonderful pastime is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is a very, very prominent celebration that Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and our intimate associates observed. So I'm sitting next to my dear godbrother and friend Bhima Prabhu. Bhima Prabhu, as many of you know, has spent many years in India. How many years exactly? 30? Long time. He said a long time. 30 years? More than 30 years. 40 something years in India. And of course, his main residence was Mumbai or Bombay. So much so, in his earlier years in ISKCON, he was known as Bombay Bhima. But I call him that lovingly, affectionately. So because Bhima Prabhu has spent many years in India, and he's performed Tirtha Yatra in northern India, southern India, east, west, and certainly visited Mayapur, Navadvipam many, many times. He visited the place, the village, Panihati, where Lord Nityananda instructed Raghunath Das Goswami to observe this Utsava, this festival. So I thought it was only appropriate that Bhima Prabhu reads and speaks about this particular festival. So I'll officially end the Srimad Bhagavatam class, and now Bhima Prabhu will speak on the wonderful qualities of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, how he satisfied Lord Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu's Vaishnava associate. Thank you for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Reading from Mount Leela, chapter 6.
So can everybody hear? Hare Krishna, all our viewers online. Over here. The Antilila, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 6. It gives a sketch of the life of Raghunath Das Bhakti Thakur's Amrita Prabha Bhash. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to transcendental fits of ecstatic love, Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar Goswami pretended him, satisfied him as he himself. Raghunath Das Swami had been attempting to come to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but finally he left his home. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has gone Shantipur with Vrindavan. Raghunath Das Swami had offered to dedicate his life to the Lord's feet. Meantime, however, Mohammedan official became envious of Randidas, Raghunath Das Goswami's uncle, and used some big official court to have him arrested. Thus, Randidas left his home, but by the intelligence of Raghunath Das, misunderstanding was made. Then Raghunath Das went to Panihat to find more than Lord Nanda. He observed a festival, Chida Dahi Mahotsav, by distributing chipped rice mixed with yogurt. Day after the festival, Lord Nityananda gave Raghunath Das a blessing that he would very soon attain shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Through this incident, Raghunath Das, with the help of his priest, whose name was Yadunandanacharya, got out of his house by trickery and thus ran away. On touching the general path, Raghunath Das Goswami secretly went to Jagannath. 12 days he arrived at Jagannath at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it goes on to describe the renunciation of Raghunath there at Puri. At first he was getting money for his father. He was arranging a big feast for the devotee. And then, then he felt that this was not proper. He stopped accepting his father's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Srudhamara, because he put him under the care of Srudhamara. So you take care of him. So he was also known as Srudhamara, Raghunath Srudhamara. So he told Mahaprabhu, well, he gave up taking his father's money, and now he's standing on the steps of the Jagannath. And he just begs on. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased that he was. And after some time, Mahaprabhu didn't see him there on the steps. He asked again, I'm sure how would he do it? So he just begs a little prasadam from the Anakshatras. In Jagannath Puri, they have these places where they sell the Mahaprasadam below Jagannath. So they have something left over, and he goes. And after some time, he again inquired, oh, where I don't see it. Where is it? He said, no, what he does is the rejected rice, which is thrown out from the temple, behind the temple. He collects that. This is rice that even the cows have not decided. So he collects that, and then he washes it off. And one day when Raghunath Das was preparing to take that rejected rice, which he had cleaned, was about to eat, the Mahaprabhu arrived. He said, I'll take some of your prasad. He said, no, my dear Lord, this is not fit for you. He said, what? Jagannath Mahaprasad is not fit for me? And forcefully he took the rice up. So, so in that way he got the mercy of Lord. Vrindavan, he was living in Vrindavan. And he had a habit of offering obeisances every day to 1,000 Vaishnavas and going around Govardhan. Even to the point when he was really old, still every day. And anyway, in order to get to that mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he first got the mercy of Lord Nityananda. When he left his family home, he was always trying to leave his family. And Raghunath Das' father, Ranganath, he was, he got him a very beautiful wife, opulent place, all these things. But still, he was always trying to run away. His men would bring him back. It was like a daily routine. So the mother said, "Why didn't you tie him up with ropes?" Father said, "I've given him a wife that's as beautiful as the heavenly maiden. He has an opulence like a king. If we can't tie him down with that local ordinary rope." So one day, by trickery, he escaped. And with the help of his mentioned family priest, Nandanacharya, and he met Lord Nityananda. He offered his obeisance part of the place. And Lord Nityananda saw him, and he said, well, Lord Nityananda was sitting under a tree. If you go to Panihati, that tree is still there. 500 years later. And he said, bring that thief here. This man is a thief. Bring him here. So it fell down at the feet of the Lord. Said, you're offering obeisances from our different place, robbing us of your association. You must be a thief. Your punishment is feed all my devotees. Chip rice and food. So accepted that. He purchased, got chipped rice, and they soaked it. There were two kinds. One kind was soaked in yogurt, one kind was soaked in condensed milk, fruit bananas. And so many people came. They were delivering the chipped rice and yogurt to that place. I had went there many years ago, and maybe it was 87 or 88. There's a saying in Bengal, you visit these three places in a day. It's the same as going to Jagannath Puri, darshan of Jagannath. And that's Mahesh Rath, another great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. They have a Rath Yatra, and that's across the Ganga, just from Panihati. So then the quickest way to get to the next place, which is Kardara Shamsundar, is you cross the Ganga and you come to Panihati. So I was on my way to Kardara Shamsundar, and we stopped at Panihati. And just near that is the house of Raghava Pandit. So from this place where the festival happened, you can see Raghava Pandit's house. You know, the story of Raghava Pandit used to make these bags of prasada for Lord Chaitanya, and when the devotees went to Jagannath Puri to meet Lord Chaitanya, they would take the bags of different kinds of preparations for Lord Prasada, Lord Chaitanya. They call it the bags of Raghava Pandit. Bags of Raghava. So, just a little diversion. Those bags were there, and Govinda, the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the messages were coming from Panihati. Did the Lord take the prasada? What did he say? But the Lord was never asking for the prasada, so Govinda was afraid. The Lord Chaitanya is very renounced. He's only taking a little bit. So he was stuck, Govinda. So finally he said to the Lord, he said, Lord, they're asking about these prasada that came from Pandit's house. And he said, you never told me? Bring it on. I brought all these bags of mouth and the Lord sat down and ate it all. So we can appreciate how much the Lord has affection for. And sometimes people think it's hard to accept that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God. In India, people accept that Krishna is a supreme personality of God. They'll accept that because they all have Janmashtami in the home, and from childhood it's cultural. Right? To accept that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that same Rajandananda from Vrindavan. There's no any difference. That takes another kind of faith. Yes. But we can see why the Lord came. He wanted to enjoy with his devotees. Raghunath Das, how that festival was such a wonderful thing, still is celebrating it today. That all the devotees, there were so many people came. They were eating the chip rice and yogurt, and there were so many people. There was no place to sit. They took their 2 pots of yogurt and the kheer with the chipped rice, and they sat in the Ganga and cooked because there was no place. The Ganga's right there in that place. And at that time, when I went there, you could see Raghunath Pandit's house, from the tree. I went there recently. I took a road trip. We went from Bombay to Nasik to Karnal. That's where our godbrother Shamak Rishi has a temple. Very big temple. But she's not sure how to manage it. So then we came to Ujjain, Mahakaleshwar. A lot of people come there for darshan. Mahakaleshwar. We were just thinking. And in the temple room of our temple, there's Krishna Balaram, Radha, Chandra, and Jagannath, and Shankadevi. I met this policeman from Bombay, right? He was from Thailand. He said, "You don't have darshan? No problem, I'll get you." So just like that, he got us. And this Mataji has a little problem walking, got us all sorted out. And not only we had darshan, but right up in front of the deities we had darshan. No one can go there except for Pujari. There we were. So the Lord works in mysterious. So we spent some days there. Then we went to a place that I've never been before, called Jhansi. Jhansi is where Srila Prabhupada started leaving for. And we have a center there that was donated by a famous movie star, which is an ancestral property. Her name is Rani Mukherjee. Rani Mukherjee. Famous movie star. You watch Hindi movies. I can never understand Hindi that well, so I don't. Once I was on an overnight bus, and they had this Hindi movie, and from Delhi to Pune. And but I could understand that. And Hindi movies are not 1 hour, 2 hours, they're 3 hours. So it was Amitabh Bachchan's Andhakanu. That was his name in Andhakanu. He was starring. But anyway, I remember that very vividly. So anyway, we were there in Ujjain, nice center. It's like right in the heart of the town. And from there we went to Ayodhya. That was just after the opening of the Ramlal Mandir in the Skandinavian camp. We did there 10,000 prashad, full prashad, which was organized by the devotees from Belgaum and Chopra. Orlando was in charge of the kitchen. We had a camp, and every day it was Harinam. Krishna Chaitanya Swami was taking out devotees for Harinam. And there were various, the Padayatra was there with their golden tide bullock cart. They were also doing Harinam up from our camp all the way to the temple and back. We had a good portion of having darshan there. From there we went to Varanasi. And from Varanasi, course, we have a nice center. It's coming up in Varanasi. There's also two bases, what they call it, where students come and stay. And there's about, and there must have been about 30 students. They made a house, specially designed just for students. And there's one professor from PHU, Banaras Hindu University, and he's a devotee, full-time devotee, but he also teaches. He was kind of heading up that base. That was an interesting place with the devotees there. And from there we went to Gaya, from Varanasi to Gaya. And Gaya, we have a center there. And from there we went straight to and attended the festival, etc. And from Mayapur we went to Ramuna. And Ramuna is a famous Kirchhoff. And we have a center. Near God, he started center. He's a naval officer. He retired from the Navy. When he retired from the Navy, all the Navy people that he used to preach to, they also retired. And they're all staying in that center of Ramuna. They're making it happen. They're together there, they're performing devotional service and preaching. So with this kunti, very nice. He took us to Gopinath. There we had Lord's ear, famous ear, because the story is that Madhavan Puri attended that place because he was bringing sandalwood for his Gopal. At that time, he saw the kheer coming out to be offered. He thought in his mind, oh, I'd love to taste that so I could offer it to my Gopal Didi. But then he felt it made an offense because it was boga, wasn't offered, just like cover the boga. So he was thinking, I made an offense, and he left that place and he was staying in the market feeling very bad. So that night, Gopinath, he appeared in the dream of Pujar, and he told Pujar, you come, I have already kept one pot of kheer for a devotee named Madhavinda Puri, so you bring it to him. He will find it in the market. So he woke up, after this dream, very vivid dream of Gopinath. He saw the pot of kheer behind the Lord's dress, and then from that day, Gopinath famous. Kirchhoff Gopinath. He's the old sweet rice from Madhavan Puri. That tea is very beautiful. And when we went there, there were other devotees from this kind that were there. We had a big kirtan. And said that that deity actually sita around by the river. And she was wondering, what will you look like in your next generation? So he took an arrow, a quiver of arrows, and a rock he carved this. And he used to So from there we drove to Jagannath, and the idea was to drive all the way back to Bombay. But our driver, when he was having darshan in Jagannath, he was walking back, and he got hit by one of those electric rickshaws, broke his ankle. So at first he thought it was, it was a sprain or something, but actually it was tulia. And so he was laid up, and that was the end of our road trip. We had to fly back to Bombay. So if you ever get the opportunity, you should visit. We have a center there. It was started by Bhakti Troops on this side of the worship. Every day they were serving shot from there. They have a restaurant. And if you want to stay there or visit there, let me know because I know what is there. Hare Krishna. Raghunath Das Goswami ki Jai. Nityananda Brahma ki Jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanand.
Hari Hari Bol.
Does anyone know the historical meaning behind the village Panihati?
Oh, they gave me a book with all that information, and I started reading it. They have a book that they published, Voters published about the history of country. And, I did read part of it, and there is a history of how, originally it was a trading port, a hati. Hati means market. And it's the market that you can reach by the Pani, because it's right on the Ganga. Pani Hati. And it was one of the main markets for a long time, way before Calcutta even became brown. So that's one thing of it. But there are a lot of other things that I just, sorry to say, but there's a book that you can get when you visit Pani Hati. They'll give you a book, and there's a long history of how it. We have a center. We also have, besides the center, there's another piece of land. There's some legal dispute over that land that we acquired. When that gets settled, they have an intention. You come out from that land and there's this temple of Lord Shiva on the right, and then you walk down the steps, and there's the Ganga. And that's it's not even, 30 meters from the tree that Lord Nityanath sat. It's a very prominent place. And they still celebrate on that day, Panihati festival. Thousands of people come. They distribute chickens.
Well, almost 9 o'clock is officially over, finished. Any additional comments, questions? Lagopapru, Brahmachari Prabhu behind your back is gesturing that perhaps you should say something. Any
I
comments?
don't want to change the mood of what you created here for specific. Though I have some philosophical question, but I don't want to contaminate.
Well, philosophy will never contaminate anything. Purify. Go ahead, ask your question.
Give them the mic. Somehow, Lagopapru Brahmachari must understand your heart because he could sense that you wanted to say something.
Okay, the devil frightened, so did
In this particular purport, Prabhupada says that a man may see a tiger following him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger and there is no suffering. It's simply a case of dream. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. This is where my question is. Question is, the monist Mayavadis say everything is dream, nothing is real, except one, which is absolute truth, and you and I are not real, everything is false. But I'm trying to understand how Prabhupada says this, that nothing, sounds like there's a similarity. This is my limitation of understanding with the purport, not questioning Prabhupada, but I'm trying to understand. But if everything is dream, the problems are dream, happiness are dream, then it sounds like Mayavadi philosophy. How do we understand?
You know the difference. They will say,
Give them a clue.
they'll say it's not there. It's not actually there. We don't say like, we say it's actually there, but it's temporary. Even the dream, it has its reality. So much so that you may wake up in a sweat, right? But it's temporary. When you wake up, you think, oh, that was just a dream. Temporary. Temporary situation. That's the difference between us and the Mayavadis. Mayavadis say that it didn't even exist. But a dream can be so realistic that you can be affected by it. Right? Isn't it? So in the same way, we're in this material world and we have so many difficulties. But the way the devotee adjusts it, yeah, it's just a dream and it's only temporarily going to be there. When I think about Krishna, right? When I think about Krishna's instruction, then I'm going to come out of this dream. Just like Arjuna. Arjuna was thinking, how could those cowherd men defeat me when he was bringing the queens back from Dwarka? Ordinary cowherd man. He defeated Indra. Right? And he was in so much, what do you call it, lamentation. When he thought of Krishna, when he thought of the Supreme Lord's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, he became revived, and his Krishna consciousness became revived. Right? So, yes, it seems like the same thing that Mayavadi has been talking about, but it's simultaneously one and different. And that difference is that they'll say it never existed, but we say no, this world does exist. It's real in the sense that it's Krishna's energy, but it's only temporarily manifested in such a way, and it's going to change. That's it.
That is very clear. Thank you. I was just thinking about this particular sloka where Kunti is so very intelligent that once you have Krishna with you, there's actually no problems. So she started giving more problems in another sense. It's really speaking. This reminds me of Mukunda Mala, where Kulashekara was a Diviva, Bhuiva, Mamastu Vasaka. He says that you put me into an hellish condition or in this earth to retake birth or in heaven. But only thing I want to know is Charanaravinda, Smarani. I should always remember you. When you remember, it doesn't really matter whether you are in a hellish condition or the heavenly condition and so forth. So that's really very inspiring and interesting.
Very remarkable.
Yeah.
Very, very remarkable. Just as we're discussing Queen Kunti's verse, how it is quite astonishing that she's praying to the Supreme Lord, may the sufferings and calamitous conditions that I experience happen again and again. Why? Because during those setbacks, Kunti Devi and her sons, the Pandavas, they naturally took shelter of Krishna. They thought about Krishna. Apuna Bhava Darshana. So if we remember Krishna, Tyaktva Deham Purana Janma, Naitimameti Arjuna. Krishna is declaring that no more repeated birth and death. Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Evam Yo Veti Tattva. So this is Krishna consciousness. Now here's another interesting point. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna was having a conversation with Yudhisthira Maharaj. And Yudhisthira Maharaj said, my dear Lord, you are known as being supremely merciful. What is the symptom of that you grant your mercy to a devotee? Interesting question. Krishna answered in this way, Yes, Yaham Anugaranami, that my Anugaranami, my favor, my benediction, my mercy extended to a devotee is Hadisye, Tadanam Shanai. Hadi, of course, refers to the Supreme Lord, but the word Hadi also means one who takes away. So Krishna is essentially saying to Maharaj Yudhisthira, you can recognize my mercy upon a sincere devotee as when I take away all of their wealth and opulence. So, and then of course Krishna says, Hadisye tadanam shanai. The word shanai means gradually. That is also Krishna's mercy. He gradually takes away. He could immediately take everything away. That would be very difficult. So Krishna says, oh, gradually. It's also a symptom of his compassion. gradually take away the wealth. And then what happened? Tado adanam tijantasya. Then when one is bereft of that wealth, swajana dukkha dukhinam. That devotees, relatives, they, okay, now this person is useless. Everything is taken away. What can they give you? That is Krishna's mercy. And in fact, often when Srila Prabhupada will quote this particular verse spoken by Krishna, he'll take away the opulence and material possessions of someone he particularly favors. Srila Prabhupada would quote that verse and he would cite himself as an example. We all know that Srila Prabhupada during his early years was a householder, and Srila Prabhupada had a very, very successful pharmaceutical business. So much so that Prabhupada had opened different offices and warehouses throughout India, and so many assistants and servants. It was a very, very thriving business. So during that time when Srila Prabhupada's pharmaceutical business was very successful, one Jyotish Pandit, one astrologer, said to Srila Prabhupada, I have noted your horoscope, and if you continue this business, you're going to become one of India's most wealthy persons.
Oh, God.
And so Srila Prabhupada said to that Jyotish Pandit, he said, well, if I become wealthy, then I'll give all of the money to my Guru Maharaj's mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. Now, Srila Prabhupada's business continued to expand, and so many things. Prabhupada had his own properties, different places. Even one of Srila Prabhupada's residences consisted of maybe 2 or 3 stories. And Prabhupada rented the top story, the top level, to his godbrother, Sridhar Swami. He said, why do you make this a preaching center in this particular location? So Prabhupada was very, very wealthy as a household. However, gradually, business just started decreasing. So much so that Prabhupada had to give up the whole business, and he was even, like, say, from a business perspective, what's happening? All of these, like if you're developing a business, naturally you're concerned about expansion, profit, and if everything takes a nosedive, you become very concerned. What's going on here? And so Prabhupada frankly said in many classes, he approached his godbrother Sridhar Swami. They had a very affectionate relationship. He said, look, everything about my life, my business, everything is going down. You see everything. Is this similar to what Krishna is saying? Yasyaham anugranami adisye adhanam sanam. And Prabhupada's godbrother, Sridhar Swami, said, it appears so. And so Prabhupada accepted, yes, this is Krishna's special mercy on me that he is taking away all of these things. And then, of course, Prabhupada would humbly say to the devotees, so Krishna was preparing me to get out of family life, business, take sannyas, and spread Krishna consciousness. So that is also a very interesting aspect connecting to this verse and the discussion, that sometimes when the Lord particularly favors a particular devotee, he may take away all of their impediments, material possessions, so they have no other recourse but to completely surrender. So there are many, many examples. In the case of Raghunath Goswami, very wealthy, and he wasn't interested in anything. And as Bhima Prabhu was pointing out, Srila Raghunath Das's father was very, very wealthy. Tejas Prabhu, our godmother, very, very wonderful devotee. He was temple president of New Delhi and other places during Srila Prabhupada's time in India, Western American Prabhu. And he said he heard Srila Prabhupada say Srila Raghunath Das family so wealthy when they were not kings, although business, but lived in palatial buildings like a king. Prabhupada said Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's father, when they would cook like puris, chapatis, they would use a different batch of ghee for each and every chapati. They were so wealthy. And Raghunath Das Goswami was the only son of his father. So naturally, his family was expecting him to carry on with the zamindar, land owner business. But he never called him. So this is also the remarkable feature of bhakti, param drishtava, nivardita. Param drishta means, in ISKCON terminology, we say higher taste. So there's a higher taste by which a devotee can very easily give up so many things and taking shelter. But there are many, many examples. Sometimes Krishna will favor a devotee and allow them to stay in opulent circumstances. Like Ramananda Raj. He was, at that time, what was his position in Chennai? At that time, he was,
Governor, Lieutenant Governor
yeah, he was a governor
Madras.
of Madras. Everywhere he would go, he would be carried on a palanquin, followed by musicians, because he was directly working under King Pratap. But he remained in that position by the Lord's arrangement. So the point is, Sthane Stita.
And later on, he took retirement,
Yes.
because so he could be with Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya requested him to come before him.
Yes.
So the king gave him this good retire. VRS, right?
But the point is, there are so many different examples of devotees, sometimes seemingly in impoverished condition, Sudama, Brahmana, or some devotees opulent. So it is all Krishna's arrangement. But in any circumstance, whether in an impoverished condition or opulent condition, the devotee knows this is all the result of Krishna's mercy and arrangement. Param Drisva Nivartine. This is a higher taste of bhakti. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would often quote the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Staining Stita Shrutikatam Tan Van Manovi. Whatever is your position, whether brahmachari, sannyasi, brahmana, vaisya, kshatriya, whatever it is, remain in your condition. Execute your responsibilities, cultivate Krishna consciousness. And Krishna, in all of those circumstances, will deliver his mercy. Yeah. Or additional one.
Hare Krishna. After Bhima Prabhu's nice recollection of the Yatra and Lal Gopal Prabhu's twist in the philosophical thing, one thing is coming to my mind, that you mentioned about the sloka Chaturveda Bhajante, Arto Jigyasu Arthati Jnani. Of all these four people, the distressed, like Kunti Maya explained, I want all this. I was wondering, why only distress? Gyanis also approach the Lord. Artho Jigyasu Arthati. Of four categories, why should it mean that I should only get distressed? Like, just ask.
Because that's what she was experiencing. If you're exiled to the forest, there are wild animals, people attacking you. So she was looking at it from the subjective point of view. She wasn't looking at it from a jnani point of view.
I agree, but in that sense, Arjuna and Krishna all face this.
Yes. So
She
therefore,
was praying.
yes. So Kunti Maharani, she was saying, my dear Lord, yes, we experienced so much distress on account of being exiled from our kingdom. May all of those calamities happen again and again. So her prayer is subjective. She wasn't approaching Krishna from someone that approaches him as a jnani, cultivating knowledge. She's saying, my dear Lord, we suffered so much. But in the course of those sufferings, we were thinking of you and taking shelter of you. Therefore, we tolerated everything. And she said, if we think of you, apurna bhava darshanam. There's no more repeated birth and death. So Kunti Devi is saying, my dear Lord, by thinking of you, one will become liberated. So because we experienced so much suffering, but we thought of you, our liberation is guaranteed. So therefore, let those sufferings happen again and again. I don't mind, because my mind is not going to just focus on the sufferings, but it's going to focus on you.
He also recognized higher forms of bhakti that she had. There's a verse where she's glorifying Madhushoda. She's glorifying the gopis. So she recognized that her level of bhakti was somewhere, but their level of bhakti was even higher. Now a devotee does that. They may have some relationship with Krishna, but they see other devotees' relationship with Krishna. They see other devotees' devotional service, and they think it's better. So they're appreciating. We should know what level we're on and aspire for some higher level.
Thank you.
This is just my personal realization of this particular verse, where I think for common people like myself, the focus is on the second part, the second half of the sloka, Bhavata Darshanam Yathyat Apurna Bhavam Darshan. That is, the goal of this thing is to have darshan of Krishna more than trying to pray for problems. So we are focusing on the first half more because we are not in the kunti's level. So everyone bewildered, how is it even possible for someone to pray? That forgetting the second half of the sloka, the purpose of me praying for problem again and again, so that I can have a darshan again and again, like how Damodara Ashtakam, the Muni is not praying for problems, rather is praying to let me remember this particular leela. The idea is to remember Krishna. So if someone can remember Krishna by having problems, you have to pray for that. If you can remember Krishna by enjoying prasadam, remember Krishna. Someday, I just remember one thing and I'll stop. One of the Arvar, in one of the Arvas is written different beautiful pastorums, poems. He says that, my dear Lord, please give darshan to me. And then Lord is saying, it's like a virtual conversation. Right? You have to imagine like that. The Lord is saying, I will not come give darshan to you. And he said, why? Arvada said, why? Because you're a papi. You're a sinful person. There's a loving exchange of dialogues. That's how we have to understand. He said, well, I know I'm a sinful person, but should you have to come? No, I will not come. He said, you have to come. Why should I come? Well, you said I'm a sinful person, I'm a papi. Come in front of me and tell I'm a papi. It's very intelligent, like Kunti and Kulashekara. And he said, I accept that I'm a sinful person, but it'd be nice if you come in front of me and tell me that I'm a papi. Then that's all I request. And the Lord said, okay, I'll come. The Lord comes in front of the Arvars, and he was going to open his mouth and say, Pa. And then Arvas stops there. Because he's no more papi, because Vidyate Hade Granthi Chityante Sarva Samshaya. As soon as one gets the darshan of the Lord, all the calamities, all the attachments in the heart and confusions and everything get destroyed as soon as one gets darshan of the Lord. So the goal of this sloka is to get darshan of the Lord. That should be the mood for common people and ordinary people like us, rather than trying to imitate like Kunti. Otherwise, this particular sloka would not be our daily or regular prayers. It's difficult to apply in our life. We can give lectures, but it's hard to take it practical. Hare Krishna.
One thing you can think that this, as you were saying, can't imitate Kunti. But we are going to get problems, guaranteed. Problems are going to come. So how we deal with this? The suggestion here is, okay, we're going to get problems. Don't see it. He said this, she said that, he did this, therefore I'm suffering. see as Krishna. Krishna has given me this problem. Why? So that I can take more dependence on him. I'll overcome it. How? By thinking of him, by depending on him. Okay, Krishna, you gave me this problem. Now what do? You have to help me. I'll chant your holy name. I have no other resource. And that way you'll overcome the problem. You'll solve the problem.
We're having a very interesting extended question answer session.
Saturday, nobody's got to go to work.
So Bhima said it's Saturday, no one has to go to work. But again, we'd like to thank all of you for participating, those who are online. However, in pursuance of the point Lal Gopal Prabhu just made, wonderful point you made, emphasizing the word darshanam, wanting to see the Lord. But knowing that one's misery, setbacks will be obviously eradicated. However, there's an old saying, first deserve, then desire. So if we want the Lord's darshan, in one sense we must be qualified. Just as sometimes when Srila Prabhupada would preach to sometimes in news reporters, people in general, they will ask him, well, can you show me God? And Srila Prabhupada right away will say, do you think seeing God is so cheap? Even just to see President Trump, you require some kind of qualification.
Same Modi.
Or same with Modi. In other words, any big position, any big person in material estimation, you can't just go to their office, their chamber. So I want to see this person. There must be some qualification, some significance. So Srila Prabhupada would sometimes challenge these news reporters. So do you think seeing God is so cheap? Or is God your order supplier that you want to see him, therefore he's obliged to appear? So Prabhupada would also quote this old saying, first deserve, then desire. So therefore, Krishna being so kind, he mercifully appears as the Articha Murti, the deity form. So we can see him. We can take his darshan. We can dress his forms. And so that is darshan. So yes, having the darshan of the Lord means, yes, ultimately no more repeated birth and death. So it's a very nice point you made, Lal Gopal Prabhu, emphasizing the word darshan. But as Bhima Prabhu was also pointing out, we have to also understand honestly in our hearts which level we're on in our Krishna consciousness practice. Because the neophyte devotee is known as Kanishta Adhikari. The next intermediate class, Madhyama Adhikari, and then of course the top most, Srimad Bhagavatam, Uttama Adhikari. So wherever we are, we simply still try to approach the Lord with all sincerity, and Krishna will work everything else. Eko Bahunam Yogayodatikam. He's already supplying all our necessities. Simply we just offer our love and affection, and in this way, God becomes calm. He becomes Jita. Otherwise, Krishna is always Ajita, unconquerable. He becomes conquered by his devotees' love. Oh no, well, it looks like they want to go on.
One more hour, guys, come on, we can. Anybody need some water?
Continuing with your both great devotees' comments that in case, even though we are so very problem distance, and still we have to always remember and aspire for darshan and be happy. When I was in school, I got this couplet, suddenly remembered. It says that it is easy enough to laugh when life is flowing like a beautiful song. It is easy enough to laugh when life is flowing like a beautiful song. Great are those who laugh when everything goes dead wrong. With devotees, even though like Kunti Maya set an example that even though so many calamities are coming, diseases are coming, we have to pray and aspire for Lord's darshan. So I thought I share with all of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu Prabhu ki jai.
Because Prabhu there.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. We all, in all angles, we covered sufferings, problems. And we also mentioned that Krishna is a merciful plus. He firstly take your money. But in some context, you also Krishna's mercy in all forms, like Dhruva Maharaj, when he had a desire, and when Krishna appeared before him, and then he said, everything is looks like a broken glass for me. I don't want anything. But then still Krishna gives him.
Gave him his own planet.
Whole planet, even if he doesn't want. So sometimes he took it. But this is my personal, this is not anywhere written. Even if Krishna took some money, like Prabhupada's factory was burnt and all. But later on, Prabhupada, he built such a house, whole world can stay there. Now ISKCON temples, like Raghunavish temple have seen. Even rich people cannot buy a property that opposite to Laguna Beach. So Prabhupada did this one. So even if Krishna he took money, but again he will make sure that you will get everything. He will expose everything. Like Lord Chaitanya, he said to Sridhar Kulavecha, even if like he was a banana seller, but he said that I will expose to the whole world, you are the most richest person. Yes. And then he exposed to that one. So that was also. And another thing is this problems. But Kunti Maharani, she is asking about calamities. What we have, that those are the problems, not the calamities. The Kunti Maharani's calamities that are very dangerous. Like if someone can suicide also this in this age of Kali, those kind of she had problems. And teaching of Prahlad Maharaj said, like problems will come anyway, even if you don't ask also, it will come to you. But for happiness, so-called happiness, you have to endeavor. Like suppose if I need money, I have to endeavor. But even if I endeavor also, still problem is going to come, then anyway it will come without asking. She's asking the calamities. So that's all, one thing. And then Prabhuji, Lal Gopal Prabhu, he mentioned also. The second part, remembrance. That is the most important. I just mentioned another example of Kulashekar and Kunti. Then I was recollecting who asked the problems or calamities, the great devotees. Even Prahlad Maharaj, he had a great difficulties, problems, life-threatening problems, but he never asked. He just looked forward, whatever happens, and he remember Krishna. He never said that, okay, today I saved it, what happened by tomorrow? Tomorrow again my father will try something to kill me. No, he was just remembering Krishna. So the second part, what he said, the second part, that is the most important.
Yeah.
So that is so.
Yeah,
That
yes, that is the real point. Krishna Smarana. So
Krishna
whatever
Smarana.
condition, whatever one is experiencing, just by remembering Krishna, he will make all of. Look at Draupadi when she was attempted Asat Sabaya in the council meeting, the palace. She was being disrobed forcibly. Weak woman in comparison to who was it? These are big, strong men. And she tried to hold on to her cloth so she wouldn't be embarrassed in the public assembly. But what she could do, a small woman, weak woman compared. So, Krishna, I have no other recourse but surrender to you. And Krishna just.
And another person is Bhishma Dev. He accepted actually all those problems just for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
He never asked, but maybe it's pratigya, whatever is vow and all, but he chose the problems. Even if he has to fight against the Supreme Lord on the other side. He accepted all those problems and he had gone through a lot of pain actually.
And you can see in all of those examples, be it Bhishma Dev, Kunti, Prahlad Maharaj, the Lord's protection.
Only remembrance was the most
yes,
important
the
part.
remembrance was always there, and the Lord always reciprocated.
Yeah, even my point is only, even if we do not ask problems, anyway problems everyone will have. That is sure.
And you look and see, everyone's a unique relationship. You know, Claude had a unique relationship, Dhruva had a unique relationship, Kunti had a unique relationship. And we all also have a unique relationship with Krishna. And he wants to experience that uniquely, just like we all have different fingerprints, different faces. Our relationship with Krishna is also different from anyone else. And he wants to experience that. But we're ignoring him. We're having this relationships with so many people in the material world. And he's waiting patiently to experience that unique relationship that he has with us. That's why it's known as Rasaraj. That he enjoys all the different rasas, and each individual has a different. And look at Prahlad. The Lord said, take some benediction. His father was torturing him. Right? And first he told the Lord, he said, my dear Lord, since we're doing your devotional service, we're completely satisfied. We're not Dukanwala, Kiranwala. Right? He's getting on the Lord's case, right? We're not Kiranwala. That we do something and take something. Not like that. Then the Lord accepted that. He said, okay, but you take something. And normally in the material world, we think somebody torturing us, make that guy go to hell forever. But no, he said, you deliver my money. Such a wonderful mood. We can learn so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One thing that we really have to add is that I think one important way that we all as a practicing devotees should have is that we have to have complete faith in Krishna, that he is not going to put us in a situation or a test that we cannot really tolerate. It may not be, from our perspective, it may be we are the most suffering person than anyone else. We may think like that, but Krishna knows how much we can take and do things accordingly. If we have to correct us by giving us wealth, he will give us wealth and correct us. In the case of Sudama, so I remember in the case of Sudama, he became a richest man. But the commentator says that why Krishna had to give him a riches is because when he was poverty stricken at that time, he was thinking, who can ever perform bhakti in this situation? I don't even have a meal, nothing to drink, but still I'm performing bhakti. Who can be greater than me? So Krishna said that's the only one problem with your bhakti if you think you are greater. Therefore, let me make you a rich man and prove yourself to the world that you are still great. So he proved it. I mean, the thing is that he didn't become a materialistic person. So that ahankara, the ego that he had, was destroyed, where he thought I am great, even in this situation. Right? So Krishna teaches us in a lesson in such a way that it's not harming us in any way. He keeps us happy in many sense. So we have to have that faith that Krishna is there to protect us. He knows the best way, like a parents does battling the child, and things just they know the limit of what the force that they have to pat the child without any hurt. But the child cries for that. Like that, we also cry, but Krishna knows the speed and force, how much he has to give to us. Hare Krishna.
He knows what we need.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhima Prabhu ki
Jai Parimanandi Hari Hari.
Pandit Guru. Mexican Theological Seminary.
Welcome.
You know how books are
Must be distributed to the library.
Really? Well, Gopal Prabhu. He was just saying that This is the longest Bhagavatam class in senior system history.
At least 9 I came after you.
Because we are too powerful.
Powerful.
No, no,
devotees.
no, your comments were very nice, the questions were everything. But it is, but,
You're going to have every Saturday like this, I'll try.
This also you want? You want to reuse those two? You want to reuse those two?
Listen, people like Pranati, will do this. Tulan bro, I'll tell you, all of this candy. You are rich now because last life, feast and now he's giving you. So again, we generate, we collect.
Next to that you get some star. You keep it right. Okay, bro. I'm not telling you. Hey Krishna, thank you.
So I need to ask you,